Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate the sponsor, I move to recognize Representative Robert Nazal or PH Party List.
Representative Robert Nazal of Party List BH, you have the floor. Please proceed, sir.
Good evening to the DBCC family. Good evening, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Good evening po.
I just have a few questions. When Congress approves the General Appropriations Act, is it approving one or two authorizations to spend?
Just one po, Mr.
One.
Speaker.
So if there is only one appropriation, Madam Sponsor, being approved by Congress, how do we reconcile the fact that the GAA is funded through the general fund, while the unprogrammed fund is funded if there are certain conditions met, like new loans, excess revenues, and new revenue measures? Di ba parang, Madam Sponsor, di ba parang we're authorizing a blank check?
So with regard to the fund, there's only one fund that we are approving, and that would be, in this case, the 79 trillion pesos in funds. The unprogrammed appropriations does not eat into the ceiling of that amount, so there's only one fund, but there are certain triggers, there are certain parameters that would need to be met in order for a particular unprogrammed appropriation to be allowed for funding. So meron pa rin naman pong different kind of control. So it's not a blank check po. There's a separate authorization for the release of the unprogrammed appropriations.
Yes, I understand that. Pero the reason why I'm saying na parang it's a blank check kasi hindi naman natin nakikita kung kailan dadating yung excess revenue or magkano yung amount. Hindi na nakikita ng Congress yan.
That is
Until
correct po.
it's finally reported.
That is correct, Mr. Speaker.
So, if there is only one appropriations bill being approved, how do we again reconcile the fact that there are different modes for the release of appropriations? The GAA is also a release document or an allotment order. On the other hand, the unprogrammed appropriations is not a release document. Its release is contingent on the approval of the President. So please explain how we can say that there is only one appropriations bill when there are two different modes of releases or allotment.
Mr. Speaker, there is only one fund that is authorized when we approve the General Appropriations Act, and the release of the programmed appropriations would be separate. There's a different set of parameters that would need to be satisfied for that to be released. So technically, we're only approving one fund. And then the triggers that would allow for the access of the unprogrammed appropriations is also indicated in the GAA itself. So we're only just approving one fund, including the triggers and the parameters.
Tama po. But hindi ba parang there are two spending authorities being approved? So shouldn't we vote twice and not approve these two gigantic appropriations like 2-in-1 coffee?
There is really just one po. It's just the GAA because you won't anyways be able to even trigger or access the release of the unprogrammed appropriations if that particular unprogrammed appropriation is not there in the GAA. So technically, isang authorization lang po yun. The authorization for the release of the unprogrammed appropriations is subsumed within the authorization that we approve once we approve the GAA.
Exactly. Isn't that exactly, ma'am, as if we're giving a blanket authority or a standby authority?
There, Mr. Speaker, there is no blanket authority because again, there are certain triggers and parameters that would need to be met in order for that unprogrammed appropriation to be accessed and subsequently released po. So there's no blanket authority po, Mr. Speaker.
Standby. Isn't it like a standby authority?
Yes, it is a standby fund, not authority.
Where we do not know how much will actually be spent until it's reported or appropriated and obligated until.
Yes, that is correct. We don't know how much would actually be released until a source is identified.
So from 1998 to 2021, Congress consistently stayed within the President's proposed unprogrammed amounts, but began exceeding them starting 2022 to 2025. May I ask what the wisdom was behind this?
May I ask po for a clarification, Mr. Speaker? Is our distinguished colleague referring to the change or the increase from the NEP amount to the GAA amount of the unprogrammed appropriations?
Yes, ma'am.
As mentioned earlier po, that happened in the level of the Bicameral Conference Committee. So that was actually, it was at that level that change happened po. And we are not privy as to why that happened as the executive, the economic managers, nor this representation was part of the Bicameral Conference Committee in prior years.
Anyway, I just wanted to mention that there were changes from 2016 to 2021. There were no changes from 2016 to 2021, but it started increasing from 2022 to 2024. In the 2024 NEP of DA, there was a 4.5 billion allotted. There was 4.5 billion allotted for support to foreign assisted projects. Pero zinero po ito ng House at ng Senate nung lumabas ang GAA ng 2024. Pero nung nag-release ng pondo sa DA for foreign assisted projects, 11.3 billion ang actual na natanggap ng DA galing sa unprogrammed funds. Can you please explain this, Madam Sponsor?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, because under the prioritization for funding of unprogrammed appropriations, one of the first, actually, the topmost priority would be support to foreign assisted projects. So ang ginawa po, naghanap po ng paraan, naghanap po ng ibang source para kahit po zero yung naibigay under GAA, it would still be funded po. So the economic managers found a different source po to be able to fund that.
But why is it, ma'am, Madam Sponsor, that ang ni-request lang naman ng DA is 4.5 at sobrang swerte naman ng DA, zinero natin yung GAA, pero ang actual na natanggap niya, 11.3. Meron po bang sulat yan?
Mr. Speaker, an item in the unprogrammed appropriations is released. The basis would be the special budget request, and the basis would be for the amount that would need to be released would be the amount indicated by the agency, kung magkano po yung request ng agency. So in this case, ang request po would be 9 billion. So that was the amount that was funded, and given that it's a foreign assisted project, which is the topmost priority, yun po ang ibinigay kasi yun po ay priority ng executive.
Wasn't the request 4.5? Yun nga po yung ni-request nila sa NEP eh.
That was the amount allotted in the NEP,
Okay.
but the actual request po was 9 billion.
What was the wisdom behind siniro po natin yung GAA?
That was the action po of the Bicameral Conference Committee, not of the executive po. So that's why yun po yung we are not privy po as to why that happened, why it was zeroed out, because the economic managers nor this representation was part of the Bicameral Conference Committee.
So dito po, hindi na po natin alam kung ano nangyari because Congress passed the GAA, ziniro natin, and then bigla na lang nabigyan ng 11.5.
That's because po the Department of Agriculture has a commitment with our creditors. So ginawan po talaga nilang paraan. The DA submitted a special budget request for that particular project. So that's why po we believe the submitted special budget request had a 9 billion request. So yun po yung dahilan kung bakit 9 billion po yun na-release.
Pwede po bang makahingi ng report on that? On how the 11...
Mr. Speaker, the DBM commits to provide this said report to our distinguished colleague.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Can the DBM release allotments for certain line items to the implementing agency that is in excess of what is approved in the unprogrammed appropriations? Can we stop the clock, please? Ayan,
My apologies po. So it's very possible po that, for example, in the unprogrammed appropriations, in the approved GAA, that the amount is, for example, lang po 5 billion. But later on, the special budget request would contain 9 billion. Yun po yung i-release. Kasi po, as a special provision, for example po in the 2023 GAA, there is a special provision with regard to amounts under the unprogrammed appropriations. The DBM is hereby authorized to approve the following. A, modification of amounts within the authorized purposes. So yun po yung basis for the executive to be able to amend the amount that's indicated in the unprogrammed appropriations.
Can you please explain how the public health emergency benefits and allowances for healthcare and non-healthcare workers under the unprogrammed appropriations in 2024 stated an amount of 2.3 billion But the actual allotment released ay umabot po ng 27.4 billion. So lumobo po tayo ng 25 billion. Can you please explain that, Madam Sponsor? Gusto ko lang po maintindihan.
Mr. Speaker, on the same thread as similar to the case for the foreign assisted projects, the specific foreign assisted project within DA, the case po for the HEA, the health emergency allowance that was released in 2024, that was, even though the line item was 2.3 billion pesos under unprogrammed appropriations, we confirm po that 27.4 billion pesos was released. The reason behind that po is that the special budget request emanating from DOH contained 27.4 billion because there was a necessity to pay the HEA for the healthcare workers who worked during the COVID-19 pandemic. So ano po, the situation necessitated the release of something higher than what was initially budgeted or indicated under unprogrammed appropriations.
So mayroon pong authority ang DBM to decide.
Yes, Mr. Speaker. As earlier mentioned po, under the special provision for unprogrammed appropriations, DBM is authorized to approve modification of amounts within authorized purposes.
Hindi ba po parang blank check na rin yun?
Sorry, Mr. Speaker, come
Hindi
again
ba po, Madam Chair, isn't that like a blank check also?
Mr. Speaker, it was a special provision approved by Congress in the approval of the GAA to grant this special provision to the DBM pertaining to unprogrammed appropriations. If I, my apologies, Mr. Speaker. But the position of the executive is that it was something that was approved by Congress when the GAA was approved.
So shouldn't we correct the special provision, Madam Sponsor? Anyway, out of the 531 billion unprogrammed funds of 2024, 244 billion po ang napunta sa DPWH. Of this 244 billion, 155 billion ang napunta sa sagip. Sa napakalaking halaga na 155 billion na ito, magkano po dito ang napunta sa flood control projects?
For fiscal year 2024, Mr. Speaker, out of the 155.8 billion under SAGIP, 85.7 billion went towards flood control projects.
85.
85.7 billion po, yes.
Can we have a detailed report on this, please?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, this was similar to the request of the Honorable Tino and Honorable De Lima. We will furnish a copy of the detailed list of the flood control projects under unprogrammed appropriations to our distinguished colleague.
And also for the whole 531, please. The whole 531 billion
The whole
unprogrammed.
for that year. Whole. The whole amount po, the list of projects that were released to DPWH for that year, that particular list has been turned over by DBM to the committee already. So we will share that list with you po. We'll share it to our distinguished colleague, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. So, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, this is already very alarming. Napakalaki po ng 155 billion na lump sum na binaba sa DPWH na walang detalye. Hindi man lang po natin alam kung para saan talaga yan or ilan lang ang may alam. Hindi biro ang 155 billion na yan. At ito ay naging posible lang dahil meron tayong standby authority amounting to 731 billion as unprogrammed. Ang isa pang nakakatakot dito, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, ay authorized ang DBM na baguhin ang amount within the authorized purpose ng unprogrammed fund. General Appropriation para tugunan ang mga deficiencies sa ibang mga bagay sa unprogrammed funds. I think it's about time na dapat po i-review natin yung sistema na isang approval lang ang kailangan natin gawin or ibigay para maipasa ang GAA. Tutal, ito naman ang panahon at sumisigaw na po ang mga tao na gusto nila na magkaroon po tayo ng transparency. So, don't you think it's about time, Madam Sponsor, Mr. Speaker, that we do a review of this system ng unprogrammed funds and maybe look into the process of just passing a supplemental budget?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We will consider, I would be happy to have a conversation with Honorable Nazal with regard to the recommendation, particularly around the special provision for the authority of DBM to authorize modifications in the amount. So we would be happy to look at that po to make sure that there are proper safeguards. But there are a lot of documents po kasi, even at the moment, that are required to be able to access programs under the Unprogrammed Appropriations, Special Budget Request, Certification from the Bureau of Treasury, and several plans po, financial plan, physical plan, monthly disbursement program, and justification and other supporting documents. But we'd be happy po to get in touch with Honorable Nazal to take a look at the recommendations with regard to this, and we'll make sure po na meron pong detalye yung mga na-release po na mga proyekto at mga pondo under the unprogrammed appropriations from previous years. Meron po tayong detailed breakdown dito. We'll be happy to furnish the same to our distinguished colleague, Mr. Speaker.
Total naman po, Madam Sponsor, as early as January, meron na po tayong pumapasok na excess revenues. So, siguro baka naman pwedeng ipunin na lang natin and then, then we pass a supplemental budget. Just a suggestion, Madam Sponsor. In 2024, the DSWD received 5.9 billion from the Contingent Fund for programs and projects of the department. May I know what the 5.9 billion is for? Time, please.
Mr. Speaker, we're just making sure po that the figure we furnish to the Honorable Nazal would be the accurate one. Please give us a few seconds po.
Thank you, ma'am. Nagbago yung time? 23 lang yan.
Kahit po minus 1 minute, okay lang po sa akin. Apo.
Thank you, ma'am.
Congressman Nasal, please proceed.
We have the answer na po, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have the breakdown of how the contingent fund under DSWD was released in 2024. So the first one po, 5 billion of that was released to cover the funding requirements for the 4-piece program, the unpaid grants in fiscal year 2023. Because if we remember, the program for 4-piece in that year was cut. So dun po pinasok yung 5 billion. The second part of it, which is comprised of 875 million, covers funding requirements for the procurement of family food packs and non-food items for disaster-affected families. And finally, the third, 33.4 million of that was used to cover additional funding requirements for the implementation of RA number 10868, or the Centenarians Act of 2016.
There was also 5 billion from the contingent fund received by the DA, Madam Sponsor.
In the same year po, Mr. Speaker?
Same year, ma'am. Stop time, please.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we can confirm for fiscal year 2024, 5 billion of the contingency fund was released to the DA for the implementation of the 29 peso rice project, or Bigas 29 pesos.
The special provisions on contingent fund is very specific. It should be new and or urgent projects and activities that meet certain conditions. Did the 5.9 billion for DSWD and the 5 billion for DA arise from the first condition, which is legal obligations of the national government arising from final and executory decisions by competent authority?
Mr. Speaker, in the three cases that were cited a while ago, so in the case of 4P, so there are two conditions as stated by the Honorable Nazal that enables us to access the contingent fund. It's either a new expenditure or urgent, an expenditure urgent in nature. So for the 4Ps, there's a law, there's an enabling law that directs for that funding to be allotted. In the case of the relief packs released to DSWD, there was a disaster, several typhoons around that time. And with regard to the DA, that was the time po in 2024 where the price of rice was so high in the market. So there was that need to provide a lower priced alternative for rice.
Ang nakalagay po kasi sa special provision, anyway, just to give you a background, in 2017 po, this contingent fund, this contingent fund started by being used as a travel fund. Through the years po, dinadagdagan natin yung special provision. Pero ang nakalagay dito sa special provision is legal obligation of the government arising from final and executory decisions by competent authority, including arbitration awards, mediation settlement, or compromise agreements. Wala pong nakasabi doon dito sa special provision na pwedeng mag-qualify itong mga programs na to.
Mr. Speaker, we do recognize we're also looking at the same special provision with regard to contingent funds. The first line of the special provision reads that the amount appropriated herein shall cover the funding requirements of new or urgent activities or projects of national government agencies that need to be implemented or paid during the year, such as but not limited to the following, as discussed by the Honorable Nazal. So the activities that were mentioned is included in the urgent activities, but we do recognize the point of the Honorable Nazal that those were the parameters, those three mentioned, pero not limited to those three parameters.
So yun po, nagkaroon tayo ng kolatilya na not limited to. So we inserted a provision in, or a phrase in the special provision na but not limited to. Kaya po nagkaroon tayo ng blanket authority para ipasok itong mga programa na to kahit hindi po specific yung nakalagay dun sa, wala po nakalagay dun sa special provision na pwede yung mga programa na yun. So we are citing, tama po ba? We are citing the phrase na but not limited to.
That is correct po, but the more important phrase to highlight would be in the first part of the special provision, which says that the amount appropriated herein shall cover the funding requirements of new or urgent activities or projects of the national government that need to be paid during the year. So the items are being discussed, instances of very high prices of rice or disaster po would necessitate the immediate release of the funds.
Anyway, ma'am, I beg to disagree, but of course, ang nasunod yung ating, this was the experience that happened, no? Anyway, Madam Speaker, Madam Sponsor, I am of the opinion that even if a special provision uses the phrase, but not limited to, the additional uses must still be germane or reasonably related to the items enumerated. The principle is grounded in statutory construction where the phrase but not limited to does not give unlimited discretion to include anything and everything. Under the doctrine of Heusdem generis of the same kind, when general words follow an enumeration of specific items, the general words are interpreted to include only things of the same nature or class as those specifically listed. Sa aking humble opinion po, Madam Sponsor, kahit may naka-indicate na but not limited to, hindi po ibig sabihin na kahit anong gusto natin, pwede na natin gawin. So, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, I respectfully submit that the phrase but not limited to creates an unnecessarily broad and open-ended discretion that may be prone to abuse. It allows agencies to tap contingent funds for programs and projects that do not fall within its intended purpose, namely to cover specific, urgent, and unforeseen obligations that could not have been anticipated during the budget preparation. To safeguard the integrity of this fund, Madam Sponsor, I propose that we amend the provision to remove the phrase but not limited to and to just use the phrase exclusively to the following conditions. To adopt a stricter formulation that would limit the use of the contingent fund only to the items expressly enumerated therein. In the proper time, Madam Sponsor, I will move for the amendment of this provision. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Thank you very much po. We will take that into consideration. Thank you very much to the Honorable Nazal for your questions.
Last na lang po.
Okay.
Last question, ma'am, Madam Sponsor, Mr. Speaker. Can you just please walk us through the process on earmarked funds? Kahit mag-submit na lang po ng report, kailangan ko lang po sana ng walkthrough on the process from the time that it is collected up to the time that it is disbursed.
Mr. Speaker, with the permission of the Honorable Nazal, the DBM commits to give the process by which earmarked funds are allocated
Pinapahabol eh.
and later on processed po.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much to our distinguished colleague, the Honorable Nazal.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Robert Nazal of the party list PH. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate the sponsor, I move to recognize Congressman Edgar Erice of the 2nd District of Caloocan.
The gentleman from 2nd District of Caloocan City, Congressman Edgar Erice, your recognizer.
Thank
Please
you,
proceed.
Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Madam Chair. I will not consume the 30 minutes. 10 minutes. I'll just continue from what my colleagues have started on the 1.45 trillion insertions and diversions in the 2023 and 2025 GAA. The allocation for flood control in 2023 is 34%, DPWH and flood control. In 2024, 43%. In 2025, 31%. Ang tanong ko lang po, where did the rest go?
Mr. Speaker, may we clarify the percentage that was noted by the Honorable Erice? Percentage po, is this programmed or unprogrammed?
Both.
Ano po yung 100%? Because you mentioned po 31% of...
In 2023 GAA, 395.3 billion was the insertions and diversions. So 34% po napunta sa flood control. So the rest po, yun ang hinahanap natin. Saan
These
napunta
are
yun?
programmed appropriations po?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Sige po. We'll take a look po, Mr. Speaker.
Para mapadali po ang paghanap, yung 564.5 billion 2024, 43% naman po ay napunta sa flood control at 487.5 billion in 2025. Saan po kaya napuntang mga departamento, yung mga natira po dun sa mga percentage?
Mr. Speaker, if I understand correctly po, it's the flood control, for example, took up 31% of the whole DPWH budget. Tama po ba? For that year?
No, Madam Chair.
If we may get a clarification.
34% went to the DPWH.
Of the whole budget.
43% went to, in 2024, 43%. And in 2025, 31% po. That's the diversion, total diversion in and insertions. Saan po mga departamento napunta yung the rest of insertions and diversion?
Mr. Speaker, the list is quite extensive. to be able to provide. Halimbawa po, for some of the years, we're talking about the remaining 66%. Would the Honorable Erice like me to enumerate po, or would it suffice for us
Yes.
to be able to give the list?
Okay, Madam Chair, I would yield to your
Apa, Mr. Speaker, to my distinguished colleague, we
Yes.
commit po to submit the full list of where the 100%, if you would prefer po, or just the remainder of the projects went po. Which departments these amounts went to.
I think, Madam Chair, it's very essential that we determine where did the rest went. Especially now that there is an ICI who's investigating. We might be surprised na baka merong mas malalim pang pinagdalhan to na maanomalya. So we might as well be informed.
Mr. Speaker, the DBM commits po to furnish a copy, the list of the departments to which the remainder of the total amount for insertions or diversions went po for the 3 years that was mentioned by our distinguished colleague.
Salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Anyway, the DBM will still be back in the last day of the plenary.
Yes po, we
Thank you.
confirm that, Mr. Speaker.
Meron pong 80 billion, ang pagkakaalam ko po, may 80 billion na natira 2025 DPWH budget na kung tawagin ay FLR for later release. What will happen to this 80 billion?
I believe, Mr. Speaker, during the DPWH hearing last Wednesday, the unutilized funds for year 2024, is it the previous year pa, 2024? Or is it 2025?
2025.
Ongoing pa po kasi ngayon. Maybe po the previous year po, 2024?
A few months ago, I was able to talk to former Secretary Bonoan, and he told me that the President had instructed him not to release certain items in the 2025 GAA. So makapal po yung pinakita niya sa akin na mga dokumento na ayaw daw pong iparelease ng Presidente for implementation. Kaya nga po, for later release. Ano po ang mangyayari dun sa mga natirang almost 80 billion or more than 80 billion?
Mr. Speaker, as far as we know po, on the side of the economic managers, that is correct. Roughly 80 billion pesos were placed under FLR for DPWH. But when the DPWH is here po for their budget deliberations, we will confirm that to ensure that we have the proper figure.
In relation, the policy decision made by the President is not to continue with all flood control projects in the DPWH. Nung una po, talagang medyo gulat po ako doon sapagkat alam ko po na concern ang ating Pangulo sa floodings, especially in Metro Manila. Without the flood control funds for 2026, paano po ang mangyayari sa Metro Manila? Kita ko naman po yung proposal, ng institutional proposals for to divert these funds to other agencies, maganda naman po. Pero ang aking concern, paano po yung mga programa na matagal nang pinagplanuhan ng DPWH that will resolve flood control problems in Metro Manila. Anong mangyayari po doon kung walang pondo po ito ngayong 2026?
Mr. Speaker, there are still remaining funds from 2024 and 2025. Sorry, my apologies. There are still remaining funds from 2025 towards flood control programs. So those have not been implemented yet. So that was also something that the President said. That was a pronouncement from the President that the goal is to first utilize fully roughly I think 250 billion pesos in flood control projects that remain unimplemented as of today for year 2025. Also for 2026, meron pong natira na foreign assisted projects worth 15 billion pesos. I'm getting the breakdown lang po, but I believe a huge chunk of that is for Metro Manila. I will just confirm po what the project name is called, but the remaining 15 billion pesos in FAPS for DPWH is for Metro Manila.
Yung flood control po sa Metro Manila, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, was already assigned to the Metro Manila Development Authority. Pero nung tinignan ko po yung fund allocation for Metro Manila Development Authority, mga 4 billion lang po. Paano kaya magkakasya yon for flood control sa Metro Manila?
I'm just pulling out po, Mr. Speaker. Please give me a few seconds. I'm just opening po that entry for FAPS for Metro Manila. Sabi po. 2,000. Okay na po, I have it. It's not the parking area. Mr. Speaker, we can confirm that the two projects that were left under FAPS for fiscal year 2026 are both in Metro Manila. The first is called the Pasig Marikina River Channel Improvement Project under a JICA loan. This is the fourth phase of the project. And the second project po is the Philippines-Korea Project Preparation Facility under the COICA loan. So both of those po pertain to Metro Manila.
Madam Chair, Mr. Speaker, the projects were for the river basin, Pasig and Marikina. But the problem with Metro Manila is the 260 plus waterways, especially the natural waterways. At wala pong pondo yon sa ating budget for Metro Manila Development Authority and DPWH.
There is also po a complementary effort on the part of the private sector to help with the desilting of waterways all over Metro Manila to complement the creation or the construction of these flood control projects. So may ganun din po. On top of, I can confirm po that the unutilized funds for flood control projects in the year 2025 roughly amounts to 250 billion pesos. So meron pa pong mga mako-construct.
250, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, 250 million from where?
Ay, hindi, tinanggal niya.
Where does it? Tagal pa.
Yeah, may 250 pa.
1 hour.
Out of the 350 billion. Or even more. Mr. Speaker, we can again confirm this with the DPWH when they are here for their budget hearing. But out of the 350 billion in flood control projects in the 2025 GAA, roughly 250 billion of that haven't been implemented yet. So marami pa po talaga yung hindi pa na-implement na flood control projects galing po sa pondo natin sa 2025 GAA. So marami pa po na hindi pa nagagamit. Tas may election ban pa po. And then as we know, SecVin suspended the bidding for some time. So ganun pa po. Halos 250 billion out of 350 billion pa po yung hindi nagagamit para sa flood control projects ng 2025.
But the 2025 budget, certain the projects are already earmarked to certain projects that may not be the solution to the problem. Dahil alam natin na yung 2025 GAA punong-puno ng guni-guni at kalokohan. Paano po ba yun? Ibig sabihin, yung mga proyekto na yon ay itutuloy ba natin yung mga proyekto na yon na hindi natin alam kung tama o mali, o we will convert that to savings and spend it to other projects needed by Metro Manila?
Mr. Speaker, if I may respectfully request the Honorable Erice for us to pose that question to DPWH when they are here for their budget deliberations. Hindi po kasi masagot na ating economic managers kasi nasa jurisdiction po ng DPWH. It's in their jurisdiction to decide whether or not to proceed or not proceed with the projects and programs within DPWH. So we can pose that question po to Secretary Vince as to what he plans on doing with regard to the flood control projects for 2025 that haven't been implemented yet.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, I know that it's the DPWH who had programmed these projects. No, not DPWH, but somebody who had inserted that projects to the DPWH. Pero ito po isang major policy. Kaya po nagalit yung ating Pangulo, kaya po siya naluha dahil sa baha. At nung naluha siya at nagalit siya dahil sa baha, sa sinapit ng mga kababayan natin, kaya na-discover itong mga ghost flood control projects na ito. So kung ang major policy ng ating Pangulo ay lutasin ang flood control sa Metro Manila, dapat po na may maliwanag na plano ang ating Pangulo. And it should be a policy mismo ng ating Pangulo. And if I remember right, the Metro Manila Development Authority ay nasa ilalim po ng Office of the President. Pero ito po ay walang pondo for flood control. How's that?
Ngayon po, Mr. Speaker, for the 2026 budget, meron pong natira sa MMDA also under a foreign assisted project amounting to 2.6 billion. And then if I may respond lang po to our distinguished colleague, the Honorable Erice, with regard to the first part of the question. Ngayon po kasi, given the directive of the President, he instructed Secretary Vince Dizon to review every single project that was indicated or every single flood control project included in the 2025 General Appropriations Act. Kaya po, tinigil po ni Secretary Vince Dizon lahat ng mga bidding ng mga flood control projects kasi isa-isa niya pong hinihimay kung alin po doon yung dapat ituloy pa at alin doon yung talagang questionable at hindi na dapat ituloy. So that is also in line po with the directive of the President to ensure that the flood control projects implemented are those that are actually feasible and beneficial to our countrymen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair. With the scandal in the flood control projects, I think the President as well as Congress we must have to put our best foot forward. So gusto po namin makatulong sa minority, kaya po meron po akong mga panukala. In 2014, the Department of Budget and Management, the Commission on Audit, and the Bureau of Treasury under the Department of Finance introduced the Unified Account Code Structure, UACS, to harmonize the government's disparate budget and accounting classification system. Pero ito po ay hindi pa na-institutionalize. Would the Committee on Appropriation and the Department of Finance and the DBM would agree if we will file a bill that would institutionalize this UACS?
Mr. Speaker, I am just conferring po with DBM as to whether there is an existing legal basis that institutionalizes this. Otherwise po, we would be very happy po to consider the proposal. We'll just check po muna. Please give us a few seconds po. Every year, in the general but this is Mr. Speaker, I was informed by the DBM that that particular item with regard to the Unified Accounts Code structure is there as a general provision in the GAA. Sorry, my apologies, in the GAB. It is under Section 2 of the General Provisions, which reads, Fiscal Year 2026 Budget with Unified Accounts Code Structure. All items of appropriations in this act shall be given account codes by the DBM pursuant to the Unified Accounts Code Structure. These account codes shall be used in the release of the appropriations in this act for a unified accounting, auditing, and reporting of all financial transactions of the government. This has been, I was informed po by the DBM that this has been in place as a general provision ever since the joint circular between the DBM and the DOF was signed many years ago po.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, do you mean that with the passage of the GAA, the 2026 GAA, the UACS will be institutionalized by law?
Every year. Mr. Speaker,
It was
yes
never
po, we can-
institutionalized before.
Mr. Speaker, my distinguished colleague, this has been in the GAA every year po ever since 2013 as stated po by the Honorable Erice.
Because before, it was never institutionalized. Its adoption across agencies has been uneven, and political resistance has limited its effectiveness.
Mr.
So
Speaker,
would you prepare to institutionalize this UACS through by legislation?
Mr. Speaker, I was informed by our economic managers that they are working on a bill pertaining to budget modernization, and they are going to put in a provision pertaining to the institutionalization of the UACS.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
We will,
As I promised,
if you
I
would
will
like
not take
po,
30 minutes. Thank
Apo.
you.
My apologies po. The DBM says po that they would be happy to furnish a copy of the draft of the said bill to the Honorable Erice. So you can take a look po if that is sufficient in terms of the institutionalization of UACS.
Yes, Madam Chair. Mr. Speaker, Madam Chair, I will also give them a copy of my proposal.
Thank you very much po. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Thank you very much to the Honorable Senior Deputy Minority Leader.
Thank you, Representative Edgar Erice, 2nd District of Caloocan City. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative J.C. Abalos from 4-Piece Party List as our next interpellator.
4-piece party list, Representative J.C. Abalos, you are recognized, sir. Please proceed.
Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, as well as to our guests from the DBCC, as well as our budget sponsor, magandang gabi po. Mr. Speaker, is our distinguished sponsor willing to yield to this representation for a few questions?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, I would be very happy to receive questions from the Honorable Abalos.
Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I request our distinguished sponsor to inform us of the community-based monitoring system and its importance to our social services in the government.
Oh, so that is the... Mr. Speaker, I was informed that with regard to the community-based monitoring system, or the CBSM, around 26.3 million households participated in the 2024 CMBS out of the estimated 27.6 million households. 3 million of the said households tagged as poor and near poor were already transferred to the DSWD by the PSA.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, napakahalaga po ng CBMS because it is an essential source of data for all our social services, especially for programs for poverty alleviation. In line with this, Mr. Speaker, let me read a few provisions from our CBMS law. The Declaration of Policy of the CBMS law provides that the state further recognizes that a system of public spending that warrants government allocation on areas and populace that are most wanting is necessary in lifting people out of poverty. Moreover, Mr. Speaker, nakalagay rin po sa definition of terms ng ating CBMS Act, it involves the generation of data at the local level, which serves as basis in targeting households in the planning, budgeting, and implementation of government programs geared towards poverty alleviation and economic development. In line with this, Mr. Speaker, may I ask our distinguished sponsor if she would agree that the CBMS data serves as the backbone of all our services, particularly those that are provided by departments and agencies such as the DSWD, DOH, CHED, DepEd, DOLE, TESDA, and several others. Does the distinguished sponsor agree with this?
Yes, Mr. Speaker, we recognize the importance of that. Actually, a lot of agencies, apart from those mentioned by the Honorable Abalos, already request for data from the CBSM. So as mentioned, DSWD, DA, DOE, TESDA, PhilHealth, NCSC, DepEd, DOLE, and Department of Health. So yes, it is very important in the implementation of social protection programs.
Thank you very much, Madam Sponsor. Mr. Speaker, this is the reason that why during the 2025 budget deliberation, I inquired about the status of the CBMS in which the PSA reported to us that the POPSEN CBMS last year was 70% complete and was expected to be finished by October 2024. However, according to the PSA, they said last year, due to typhoons and other unforeseen factors which caused delays in data gathering, the target completion was moved to December 2024. This was during the budget deliberations last year. Mr. Speaker, would our distinguished sponsor confirm this information?
Actually, Mr. Speaker, we are happy to provide an update on this. So as of today, the data is complete. So now 26.3 million households are already in the CMBS. So kompleto na po.
So, Mr. Speaker, 100% na po ng households ay covered.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, 100% of the households that participated in the CMBS, and that represents 26.3 million households.
But back to my question, Mr. Speaker, could our distinguished sponsor confirm that as of last year, the original target deadline of December 2024 was not met? It wasn't completed.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
And Mr. Speaker, could our distinguished sponsor also confirm that during a committee meeting of the Committee on Poverty Alleviation last Congress, the agency stated that upon completion of the CBMS in December 2024, the data would be delivered to DSWD on a staggered basis until March 2025.
They have already delivered, the PSA has already delivered 3 million of that to DSWD.
So during the original time frame, only 3 million was then completed. Is that correct, Mr. Speaker?
Yes, that is correct. The PSA confirms. They also confirm that there is a delay in the completion because of several typhoons that delayed the process.
So, Mr. Speaker, for clarification, how many households again are covered now that it's 100% complete?
Mr. Speaker, that would be 26.3 million households at 100% of the target.
Mr. Speaker, may I know from the distinguished sponsor the exact date when the CBMS data was completed?
It will be August of 2025, Mr. Speaker. Just last month.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. First of all, I would like to thank the distinguished sponsor for relaying to us that the CBMS data is already complete. That being said, Mr. Speaker, since we were only informed that the CBMS data was only completed this year, month of August, paano po natin maasahan na ang budget proposal ng bawat ahensya na may kinalaman sa social services ay nakaayon sa mismong datos na kailangang bigyang gamiting batayan para sa kanilang mga programa kung nung simula ng taon, hindi pa po ito available, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, we can confirm that 9 agencies are already using it. So napapakinabangan na po yung listahan na meron po sa ilalim ng CBSM.
Okay, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I would just like to manifest that we are currently discussing the 2026 national budget. And it's very vital that we base the national budget for 2026 on relevant data. And we have been informed that the CBMS was only completed last August. So gusto ko lang, Mr. Speaker, kumuha ng assurance na ang bawat social services ng bawat departamento natin, tulad ng DSWD o ng DOH o kaya ng mga CHED, napakahalaga po na nakabasa yan sa CBMS. Ngayon, Mr. Speaker, kung sa planning stage pa lang ng ating budget, hindi pa nako-complete ang CBMS at hindi po siya ginamit bilang isang batayan. Gusto ko po makakuha ng assurance na evidence and data-driven po ang ginagamit nating budget sa bawat social services, Mr. Speaker. So sana po magkaroon po tayo ng assurance na sa mga parating na taon, Mr. Speaker, maiwasan po natin ang mga delay sa community-based monitoring system. That way, for all of our social services, di lang sa DSWD, kung hindi para sa lahat, at least nakatali po siya at nakabatay po siya sa tamang datos. Dahil I would just like to put on record, Mr. Speaker, August this year lang natapos ang CBMS. At nahirap pong paniwalaan na ginamit po siya bilang batayan nung kinakraft ang budget kung hindi pa po siya natapos. At sa mga parating na taon, Mr. Speaker, sana gamitin po natin ang CBMS dahil nagbibigay po tayo ng survey on a household level. And naniniwala po ang representation na ito, Mr. Speaker, that social services, budget for social services, they deserve to go in areas that most deserve it. And the CBMS Act is our basis for that, Mr. Speaker. Yun lamang po, Mr. Speaker. Maraming salamat po, distinguished sponsor.
Thank you very much po, Mr. Speaker. The PSA assures that this data will be leveraged. We share the advocacy of the Honorable Abalos that the implementation of social protection programs should be data-driven and based on actual data. So hopefully po, dahil nakompleto na po ng PSA, yung database ng CBSM, sana po magamit na po at mapakinabangan na talaga ng maraming ahensya ng gobyerno.
Mr. Speaker, before I close my interpellation, just a few quick questions for the other agencies attached to the DBCC. First of all, this is regarding the block grant, Mr. Speaker. Section 22, Article 12 of the Bangsamoro Organic Law provides that the formula of the block grant shall be reviewed by the Intergovernmental Fiscal Policy Board 5 years after its effectivity, which is fiscal year 2025. To consider the fiscal needs of the Bangsamoro government and the actual revenues it shall be able to generate, and to ensure that all block grant expenditures are transparent and performance-based. Given that the proposed block grant for year 2026 amounts to 93.982 billion, which is 12.7% higher than the 2025 GAA appropriation of 83.4 billion, may we ask, Mr. Speaker, how has the review of the block grant been?
Mr. Speaker, I was informed by both the DBM and the DOF that there is a joint effort on their end to review the formula for the block grant. They have already enlisted a third-party consultant to look into reviewing this formulation, the formula for the block grant, in conjunction, in line with the Bangsamoro Organic Law. They are also adjusting this to take into consideration the Supreme Court ruling that Sulu will no longer be part of the BARM. So that's something that they are looking at. And ADB is actually willing to help in this initiative.
Maraming salamat, Mr. Speaker. As a follow-up question, given that there are currently probes by the Commission on Audit on the funds of the Ministry of Basic and Higher Education, particularly on a disbursement of 1.77 billion in one day, how can the BARM government ensure the transparency of these funds to the people? Aside from reports to Congress, does the BARM have a mechanism to show to the public where the annual block grant goes?
Mr. Speaker, there is a general provision pertaining to this. We are just pulling up the exact provision so we can share it with the Honorable Abalos. Mr. Speaker, there is a special provision within the BARM ALGO funds that reads, the Bangsamoro government shall submit quarterly reports on the utilization of its shares to the COA through electronic means and post the required reports on the BARM's website. So meron pong reportorial requirement as per the general provision.
Thank you very much, distinguished sponsor. Mr. Speaker, given the recent push for the transparency of the national budget, digitalization is seen as the forefront of the innovations that will return the trust of the public in the budget process. That being said, Mr. Speaker, may we ask the DBM, how much has the DBM allocated for ICT projects in total throughout this administration? And Mr. Speaker, may I also know, what are the projects that are lined up for the ICT projects and are they being implemented?
Mr. Speaker, may we inquire with our distinguished colleague if he is referring to the ICT initiatives or digitalization initiatives for the whole government or just with regard to the PFM process?
I'm referring to the digitalization initiatives of the whole government, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Mr. Speaker, we can furnish that. For you. Very in detail. Mr. Speaker, we can provide the total amount that was spent on ICT-related expenditures on the part of the DBM towards digitalization. So in 2023, 24 billion. In 2024, 64 billion. In 2025, 68 billion. We would be very happy to furnish the Honorable Abalos with a detailed list. However, we can also provide the top 5 departments by budgetary allocation if our distinguished colleague so desires.
Thank you very much, distinguished sponsor, Mr. Speaker. And in addition to that, may I also request the DBM to provide us other details such as suppliers and service providers for our ICT programs.
That
The
would
whole
be for all
government.
po? Okay, sure. We can quickly enumerate po the top 5 departments by budgetary allocation. First would be DepEd. Second would be DICT. This is in terms of budgetary allocation. The third would be the judiciary. Fourth would be DILG. And fifth would be DOF. So we can provide po the details and as requested by the Honorable Abalos, the suppliers for each of the different ICT initiatives.
Yun lamang po, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat for Peace Party List, Congressman J.C. Abalos.
Mr. Speaker, there being no other member from the minority who wishes to interpolate, I move that we terminate the period of interpolation for the general principles and provisions.
Thank you, Congressman Abalos. What does the House say?
Mr. Speaker, on the part of the majority, we join the minority in moving for the termination of the interpellation on the general principles and provisions.
Thank you, Majority Leader. There is a joint motion to terminate the interpolations of the proposed budget of the, general principles as stated. Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The interpolations of the proposed budget, therefore, as stated in the agency, is terminated. Majority Leader. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we acknowledge
Acknowledge it.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we consider the proposed budget of the Department of Finance and its attached agencies and corporations.
There's a motion there's a motion for the budget of Department of Finance. Majority Leader? Kindly repeat.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Swansing to sponsor the proposed budget for the Department of Finance and its attached agencies and corporations.
There's a motion to may I now recognize Honorable Swansing to sponsor the budget of Department of Finance and its attached agency. Majority Leader? Can you clarify, Majority Leader? Majority Leader?
Move to suspend, Mr.
There you
Speaker.
Session suspended. Si Biro na lang. Okay na. Ang itingnan na yun, kung responsible service. May request the agency, Department of Finance, and the attached agency to come forward to facilitate the photo session so that we can promptly restart the hearings. Be ready. May I request Department of Finance to be ready? Ikaw na? Pictures na Pictures ng dalawa.
I-open ko na.
Okay, partner. Sigilid lang ko ha.
Sige, sige.
Session is resumed. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we open the period of interpellation and debate on the proposed budget of the Department of Finance for the sponsor Bella Sansing.
Is there any objection? The chair hears none. The motion is approved. We recognize Honorable
Mr.
Swansing.
Speaker, I move that we recognize the Honorable Presley De Jesus of the party list PhilReca for its interpellation.
The Honorable Presley De Jesus is recognized. You may proceed.
I withdraw my motion, Mr. Speaker, and would rather move that we recognize Representative Bella Sansing for her sponsorship.
Honorable Bella Swansing is recognized. You may proceed.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, distinguished colleagues, it is a great honor and privilege of this representation to sponsor the proposed budget of the Department of Finance and its attached agencies for fiscal year 2026, amounting to 37.91 billion pesos. In view of the valiant pursuits of the national government to usher in an economic transformation experience that undertakes productive investments in human capital development, social security, and industry capacity building, the Department of Finance and its attached agencies have continually assumed the prodigious role of mobilizing resources in order to implement timely and time-sensitive public investments that strive for goals in socio-economic mobility, economic security, and a higher quality of life for Filipinos. Its proposed budget of 37.91 billion pesos aims to secure the continuation of the department's initiatives, programs, and projects relating to its mandates for revenue generation, resource mobilization, tax administration, enforcement, and financial market development that have assured the highest revenue effort of the Philippine economy in more than 25 years. That is 16.7% of our gross domestic product in 2024. The proposed fiscal year 2026 budget of the DOF also pursues the strengthening of institutional mechanisms that support directives for the DOF and its attached agencies to increase revenue generating capacity of the public sector in view of the fiscal consolidation strategy of the national government. To successfully undertake the fiscal consolidation strategy starting fiscal year 2026 by managing a simultaneous decrease in government borrowing and increase of government revenues collected by the national government to a level of 6 trillion pesos by 2028. Starting 2026, total tax revenues have to grow by at least 10% annually. Collections from the Bureau of Internal Revenue have to grow 11.2%, and collections from the Bureau of Customs have to grow by 15.2%. The DOF then hopes to obtain support for its pursuits to institute alternative methods of generating revenue besides imposing new taxes, through continuing and making more efficient its modernization, digitalization, enforcement, and tax administration initiatives, each of which have been tangibly reliable in assuring the accomplishment and overachievement of its agency bodies in achieving revenue collection targets set by the national government. Mr. Speaker, in view of our collective aspiration for a dynamic national economy that fully realizes the colossal potential of our workforce, our industries, and our given resources, that is the very best and the pride of this region. And our collective hope for a vibrant, equitable society, undaunted for all that may come, and prepared to seize all forthcoming opportunities for growth and development. This representation appeals for the full support of Congress for the fiscal year 2026 budget of the Department of Finance. This representation is now ready to answer questions. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we proceed with the interpolation of the proposed budget of the Department of Finance.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the same is approved. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move that we recognize Representative Presley C. De Jesus of the party list PhilReca to interpolate the sponsor of the proposed budget of the Department of Finance.
The Honorable Presley De Jesus of Party List Felrica is recognized. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May the good sponsor yield some question from this representation.
Gladly, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. At the outset, allow me to commend the Department of Finance, Secretary Rap Recto, especially the Bureau of Local Government Finance, or BLGF, under the leadership of Executive Director Consolacion Agkawili, for their prompt action in recognizing the exemption our electric cooperatives from local taxes. Last December 2024, the Department of Finance, in coordination with the Department of Energy, issued the DOF-DOE Joint Memorandum Circular 2024-12-001, which guarantees the exemption of electric cooperatives from local taxes, fees, and charges, provided they secure an annual certification attesting to their compliance with financial and operational standards. The DOF and BLGF's action showed their deep understanding of the intent of the legislature and, most importantly, a genuine concern for our member consumer owners. For, in the end, it is the Filipino consumers who directly benefit from this recognition through lower electricity bills. For that, Mr. Speaker, we extend our heartfelt thanks to the DOF family and the BLGF family. Thank you for that. We recognize these efforts, and what we seek now is to ensure proper implementation on the ground. Despite these clear directives, we continue to receive reports of local government units, or LGU, refusing to honor these preferential rights. Such refusals not only contravene established law and Department of Finance guidance, but also impose undue burdens on member consumer owners who ultimately shoulder these taxes through their electricity bills. My question now, given the LGUs are under the administrative supervision of the DOF through the BLGF, what repercussions or corrective measures are in place for the LGUs that do not comply with these issuances?
Mr. Speaker, as of now, the DOF is only monitoring these activities, but in the event that they do not comply or given many warnings, we can suspend. And also, the LGF is going to issue another circular pertaining to these kinds of activities.
Thank you for that response, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. That leads me to my second question. Do you have a monitoring mechanism that tracks which LGUs are already in full compliance and which remain non-compliant? So ilan pa ho ba ang mga LGUs natin hindi nagko-comply dito?
Okay. Okay. Mr. Speaker, given the current monitoring mechanism that the BLGF has, as of at least today, like most of the regional offices have complied. There are just issues that arise where local chief executives, there are a certain number of local chief executives that just do not comply, or like at least are hesitant of complying. But as of today, one issue point, or at least one of the issue areas is Cagayan. The rest have been resolved.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much for that. No, so I'm only I'm in the mercy of the BLGF, so I know that the BLGF will help us, no, in doing so. My next question is another issue that needs to be clarified is the application of the rights upheld by the JMC. Can you category state whether DOE, DOF, JMC number 2024-12-001 published on December 2024 applies to tax assessments for calendar year 2024 as confirmed by BLGF memorandum circulars?
Okay, no. Mr. Speaker, sorry, just to clarify, so the question is whether like we're complying. Sorry, can we repeat the question?
You want me to repeat my question, Mr. Speaker? Okay.
Yeah, yes.
Another issue that needs to be clarified is the application of the rights upheld by the JMC. Can you category state whether the circular number, the 2024-12-001, published on December 2024, applies to tax assessments for calendar year 2024 as confirmed by BLGF memorandum circulars? In short, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, it was if this tax assessment applies on 2024.
Also in 2025, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, please take note that we do recognize the BLGF, of course, Secretary Raprecto, for doing this GMC. Malaking tulong po to sa ating mga kababayan para mabawasan po sa kanila ang bayad ng taxes. So, no make mistake boss na talaga kami in favor sa inyo. I just want to clarify something that needs to be clarified. Again, how many, siguro, I move to another question na lang, no? Again, will you commit to issuing further guidance, circulars, or even initiating legal action if necessary to protect these preferential rights?
Yes, the DOF commits.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Speaker.
much for that, no?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. We hope to build on this process by ensuring smooth and uniform interpretation of these issuances across all the government units. Again, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, of course, to the DOF family, kami po yung nagpapasalamat sa joint memorandum circular neto. Talaga po ay nararamdaman po ng ating mga kababayan na despite the fact what's happening, no? Ito po yung nararamdaman nila at kami po yung nagpapasalamat sa inyo. Moving forward, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, having said that, allow me to shift to another concern. No? This time, I wish to raise a question on the performance of DOF and its attached agency, particularly the Bureau of Customs and the Bureau of Internal Revenue. My first question, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, how often do we meet the targets set for revenue collection, both for the BOC and BIR in the past fiscal years? How much is the actual collection?
Mr. Speaker, ever since the post-pandemic period started, so 2022, actually starting 2021, both the Bureau of Internal Revenue and the Bureau of Customs have achieved, in 2021, they both achieved double-digit growth. So more than 10% in revenue collections. And in 2022, 2023, 2024, and 2020, well, first semester 2025, the BIR has consistently achieved double-digit growth as well. So more than 10%. The Bureau of Customs, since 2022, revenue collections have been increasing around at least 3% per annum. So we have been achieving all of our revenue targets for the BIR and the BOC.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. My follow-up question, does the DOF have any current analysis regarding the macroeconomic impact of reducing excise taxes on imported fuels like oil on overall revenue targets and specifically on consumer price index projections? Because if it is a negligible amount, maybe we can explore reducing or foregoing the imposition of excise taxes on this product. Is that possible, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor?
Mr. Speaker, the DOF, the agency, understands the need to at least alleviate some of the burdens that we have, especially with average consumers, especially given the rising price in oil. However, given our fiscal consolidation strategy and given our fiscal deficit, which is at 1,650 billion, it might be a bit difficult given that there are a lot of revenues that are taken from at least fuel marking and also a lot of the excise taxes on fuel. So we can recalibrate. The agency is very open to at least discussions on that, but on the flip side, that's going to present a challenge given that we at least a significant number of our revenue collections come from excise taxes on fuel.
I understand the situation, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, as far as the DOF is concerned. Again, my next question is with regard the ICT expenditures and digitalization. I have also noted here in your proposed budget for fiscal year 2026, you have 5.6 billion allocation in ICT expenditures. What are these exactly? Are these expenditures for digitalization? And kasama na ba sa projected targets for 2026 yung expected increase in efficiency because of this ICT investment. Pag na-digitize na po ba ito, ay gaganda po ang bank correction or ito na ba yung kasagutan natin sa matagal nating inihintay?
Yeah. Mr. Speaker, so yes, the proposed budget of the Department of Finance and its attached agencies cover well, a substantial number of digitalization and modernization initiatives. This relates to making more efficient our tax administration and enforcement activities. So if I may be allowed to enumerate one by one, Kong Presley, Mr. Speaker. For the BIR, it's around 3.7 billion, and this also pertains to the BIR's digital transformation initiative. The BOC, it's 1.8 billion. The Insurance Commission, it's 559 million. The Bureau of Treasury, 356 million. The Office of the Secretary, 248 million. The Bureau of Local Government Finance, 99 million. This pertains to RP Vara. And then this is the Privatization Management Office, 21.8 million. And then the National Tax Research Center, 20 million. So that accounts to 6.88 billion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Having said that, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, ito boy pag na-implement na natin, pwede ba tayo magbayad ng taxes online or at yung online monitoring of tax assessment? What is exactly the department buying into para ma-implement po itong digitalization natin? Ito boy, pwede na tayo magbayad online? Mas faster ba at more efficient?
Yes. Yes, we can conduct our transactions online, and that's the idea as to why there is a substantial amount of the budget of the Department of Finance goes to the digitalization and modernization initiatives. For example, in the BIR, there's the it's part of the BIR's digital transformation program, which has been going since 2022. So
thank you, Madam Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Kailan ho ba natin pwedeng simulan to? Kasi I think ito na po yung kasagutan natin, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Nagsimula na ho ba ito?
yes, just if I can list also the list of programs that have been completed, at least with the BIR. This is as of the first semester of 2025. So there's the online registration and update system, or RUS, the enhancement of electronic one-time transaction, or the EONET system, which pertains to the sale of real properties module, the donors tax module, the shares of stocks module. And there's also the optimized knowledge management system for chatbot. E-appointment, this is a very popular one with individual taxpayers. There's the property management system, the PMS. This is with the national office, the central office of the BIR. And then there's the expansion of digital platforms and tools. There's also the command center with the IT Operations Center of the BIR. And also the enterprise risk management program of the BIR, and the enhanced monitoring and managing administrative cases. These are the completed projects. There is also a list of the other projects that not just the BIR, but also the other attached agencies of the Department of Finance are hoping to implement with the full support of Congress in terms of funding these projects, and will be very happy and glad to give it to
Thank you,
Congress.
Mr. Speaker, na Madam Sponsor. Mga ilan % po ang itataas natin sa collection natin once this was fully realized? How many %? May 10%, 15, 20?
These digitalization and modernization programs of the DOF, it just pursues our goal to at least reach the revenue effort of revenue to GDP of 17%.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, can you give us a ballpark figure, percentage lang, no? At least, malalaman ng tao na after we spend 5.6 billion, 1%. After 5.6 billion, makikinabang tayo, no? Masusulit natin yan. So, at least, ballpark figure. We know it's only a target, no? We're not expecting that we're going to hit the goal. No, at least, bigyan mo lang kami ballpark figure na talagang it's worth to go after this digitalization.
Well, it's there are challenges in quantifying just how much like these specific programs would translate to actual revenues, though given the revenue effort that we're trying to achieve, which is 17%, so 17% revenue to GDP ratio, like 1% increase in GDP would amount to around 30 billion in revenues.
So I
Based
think
on
it's worth
estimates.
naman,
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. And
Yes.
for that, papasalamat ako. Siguro, I have few more questions, no? Ito yung tinatawag natin run after tax evaders, rate for improving the processing tax refunds. Ano ho ba nangyayari ngayon sa rate nito, yung run after tax evaders? Can you update us kung ano na nalagay natin dito? And probably I have one more question para naman po marami pong naghihintay na kasamahan ko rito na para hindi po magka-ulit-ulit namin mga question.
Mr. Speaker, with the run after tax evaders program of the DBIR, or rate, as it's more popularly called, as of, well, the actual numbers from 2024, has been able to send out approximately 1,600 assessment notices for potential tax evaders, or at least potential offenders. It's also developed a proprietary system of systematically discovering sellers and buyers of the ghost receipts using advanced mathematical models. Actually, they're working, the Bureau of Internal Revenue has been working with the Ateneo de Manila University, the Department of Mathematics, to be able to create a program where those models will be able to ascertain, or at least identify, potential aberrational transactions. And then it was also filed before the Department of Justice 6 cases against ghost sellers. It's only 2024, and then 16 cases against ghost buyers.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. That will be my last questions, as I know that there's more in minority group wishes to ask questions. Again, to the Department of Finance family, Secretary, maraming salamat po. So other BIR Commissioner, of course, the Customs na during our Ways and Means, nakasama ko na rin. So maraming salamat po. I fully support yung budget and keep up the good work. Maraming salamat po sa inyo.
Thank you, Congressman. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable De Jesus, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, may we recognize the next interpellator, the Honorable Representative Journey Jet B. Nisay, Party List, Pusong Pinoy.
The Honorable Journey Jet Nisay of Pusong Pinoy Party List is recognized. You may proceed.
Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat. Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, a few questions lang po. Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, as we understand it, the sin taxes as well as the remittances from PAGCOR and PCSO that are earmarked for health financing must first be deposited with the Bureau of Treasury. Tama po ba ito?
That's correct, Mr. Speaker.
So technically, PhilHealth does not receive these earmarked funds directly, but only after the revenues have been booked by the Treasury and then released through the DBM. Is this correct?
That is correct, Mr. Speaker.
May I ask, is there any instance or legal provision that would allow direct remittance to PhilHealth bypassing the Treasury? And if none, can the Bureau of Treasury confirm that under our Constitution and the Administrative Code, all such revenues must accrue first to the general fund unless a special law provides otherwise?
Mr. Speaker, if the good congressman would want such mechanism to be prescribed by law, like we can pass a law, like we can pass legislation on that, because as of now, those kinds of mechanisms have to be approved and passed by Congress. Yes. Oh, sorry. Like, what is it? So, yes.
Interest expense is automatically
Oh, yes.
or NTA.
Yes. So sorry, let me rephrase. So if Congress finds it to be a necessity, then we can pass legislation on that, where there has to be a direct, just a direct appropriation to PhilHealth that doesn't have to pass through the Treasury.
Katulad po sana ito ng PAGCOR na nakakapag-direct ng pondo sa PhilHealth. Can the Treasury provide the total amounts remitted from Syntax, PAGCOR, and PCSO, specifically earmarked for PhilHealth in the last 3 fiscal years? And how does the Bureau of Treasury monitor that these earmarked funds, once released to the PhilHealth, and are actually utilized for their intended purpose, lalo na po sa universal healthcare?
Mr. Speaker, we have numbers from 2019 to 2025 for both the schedule of remittances by the PCSO and the PAGCOR for mandatory contribution in accordance to the Universal Healthcare Act. So in 2019, PCSO was able to, well, we can just do totals siguro po. The PCSO from 2019 to 2025, this is as of the second quarter of 2025. This is 8,823 million. That's for PCSO from 2019 to the second quarter of 2025. For PAGCOR, it's 104,510,445,000. So the total remittances for PCSO and PAGCOR from 2019 to 2025 is 113,333,851,123, Mr. Speaker. We have the line by line. We can submit to you and to your office.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, yung sa ano po natin, yung sa earmark ng Syntax, magkano po yung computation natin?
We're just asking for the data, Mr. Speaker. A few seconds on po. Okay. Mr. Speaker, so this is the completed PhilHealth allocation attributed to earmarked funds from Syntaxes based on what has been certified by the BIR and the BOC. So 2022, it's 73.92 billion. 2023, it's 83.9 billion. 2024, this is 79.01 billion. 2025. Oh, this is the for 2025. We only have the projected PhilHealth allocation for attributed to earmarked funds. It is 69.81, Mr. Speaker, billion. 69.81 billion, Mr. Speaker. And for 2026, the projected is also 69.78 billion in earmarked revenues from syntaxes. Mr.
Thank
Speaker.
you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. May idea po ba tayo kung paano natin ginagamit yung pondo nito? Halimbawa na lang sa earmark fund ng syntax.
We're just compiling the data, Mr. Speaker. Couple of seconds po. Yeah, if we have it in here.
Answer yes, we're monitoring.
Or we said yeah. Yes, we do. Oh, we have it. Put the page. Mr. Speaker, yes, the DOF monitors where these earmarked revenues are, which programs they're allotted to. One of the many programs that these earmarked revenues have been allotted to is expanded benefits for PhilHealth. So PhilHealth has expanded its benefits through the increased package rate for breast cancer patients, which rose from 100,000 pesos to 1.4 million. That's 1,300% increase to cover all of the stages of the illnesses. Also, there's increased coverage for dialysis patients, where sessions and medications are now free for a year. And then there's also an increase. Yes, these are just examples. There's also benefits for peritoneal dialysis, which was before 270,000, but now there's an increased coverage, covering from 25,000 to 1.269 million. So these are just the examples of the programs through which these earmarked revenues are spent. Yes, before PhilHealth was just spending 135 billion per year, and now because of these increased benefits, it's spending 300 billion for these expanded benefits just this year.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Sa madaling salita po, pag sinabing earmark fund ng syntax, 50% mapupunta sa PhilHealth for premium subsidies of indigent, senior citizens, and other sponsored members. And 50% mapupunta po sa DOH, split between Health Facilities Enhancement Program for hospitals and rural health units, and public health programs, kasama na po yung immunization, health promotion, etc. Gusto ko lang pong malaman, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, paano po ba kinocompute yung 50% na allocation na napupunta ho sa ating syntax, papunta ho sa PhilHealth at DOH.
Mr. Speaker, 50% of all earmarked revenues go to the Department of Health.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, gusto ka lamang alamin kung tama ho yung aking computation. Kapag sinasabi nating 50% sa PhilHealth, 50% sa DOH, hindi ito 50% ng kabuuang koleksyon mula sa excise tax, kundi 50% lamang ng tinatawag na incremental revenues. Tama po ba ito?
Mr. Speaker, these are the share for total collections, so all of the total collections for all the earmarked revenues. So, for example, for tobacco, for PhilHealth, 80% of the 50% of total collections in these earmarked revenues go to PhilHealth. And then 20% of the 50% of the total earmarked revenues go to MyIFIP, of tobacco, go to MyIFIP and HFEP. Also, HTP and vapor products, that's the 100% of all earmarked revenues. That 100%, 60% of that goes to the universal healthcare, the implementation of the universal healthcare law. And 20% of that goes to MyIFIP. And then 20% is earmarked for the Sustainable Development Goals program of the DepDev. For alcohol, this is 100% of all the earmarked revenues, out of which 60% goes to the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Act, the programs that implement those. 20% goes to MyIFIP and HFEP, and then 20% also goes to the STG programs of DepDev. And then for sugar sweetened beverages, 50% of all collections, those 50%, like that pool, 80% goes to PhilHealth, 20% goes to MyIFIP and HFEP, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. Gusto ko lamang din tanungin kung tama din yung sarili kong computation pagdating sa earmark fund ng syntax na binibigay natin sa DOH tsaka sa PhilHealth. Kung ang dating koleksyon, halimbawa na lang, kung ang dating koleksyon mula sa tobacco excise tax ay 100 billion at matatapos ang bagong tax hike ay naging 130 billion. Ang sobrang 30 billion ang tinutukoy na incremental revenue. Mula sa 30 billion na yon, 15 billion o 50% mapupunta sa PhilHealth, 15 billion o 50% naman sa DOH, HPEP at public health programs. Tama po ba ito?
No. Okay. Under the new law, Mr. Speaker, there is no incremental revenue that is under the old law po, Mr. Speaker. Yeah. And then under the new laws, those distributions for the earmarked revenues apply, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor. So, puntahan ko na lang ho yung fiscal year ng 2024 pagdating sa earmarked funds ng Syntax, PAGCOR, PCSO. Kanina po nabanggit po ninyo na noong 2024, almost 79 billion yung napunta po sa earmarked fund ng Syntax. Kung di po ako nagkakamali, pagdating naman po sa PAGCOR, umabot po yata ito ng 23.14 billion noong 2024. At sa PCSO, umabot po yata ng 1.12 billion at may additional pang 639 million. Ito po bang pondo na nakuha po natin na to ay nasa Bureau of Treasury pa rin hanggang ngayon?
So 20. Sabihin ko muna yung... Mr. Speaker, just for clarification, for 2024, what was remitted by the PCSO for the Universal Healthcare Act is 2,126,052,005 pesos. For PAGCOR, it's 22,555,377,718 pesos. So the total remittances would be 24 for both PCSO and PAGCOR is 429,724. Running back.
Then I can explain to you.
Yes. So those are the, just for the discussion, those are the actual numbers that were remitted to the Treasury, which is Speaker, by the PCSO and the PAGCOR.
Nasa PhilHealth na po to?
Let me explain. Let's say 2025. There was
We're just gathering data, Mr. Speaker. Just a couple of seconds.
70,000. No, no, there's no such thing. Point, 2020.
Mr. Speaker, for 2024, the PhilHealth subsidy under the BSF is 61. This is fiscal year 2024 po. So for fiscal year 2024, the PhilHealth subsidy was 61.51 billion. For 2025, there wasn't a subsidy because in the final version of the GAA for fiscal year 2025, wala pong naging subsidy ang PhilHealth. So Yes.
Ah,
In po use
Madam
of 24 and 2025, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, ang tanong ko po kung na-transmit na sa PhilHealth, ito pong pondo po na to.
Yung sa 2024 po,
Before.
Mr. Speaker, for for 2024 po, the 61.51 billion was like the subsidy was appropriated, but just a portion of it was released to PhilHealth. To PhilHealth.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, kaya ako po tinatanong na ito. Ito po yung mga questions na magli-lead para sa budget deliberation ng PhilHealth at ng DOH sa darating ho na Monday. Kaya ho pinipilit naming malaman kung ano yung status.
Yes.
So, sa madaling salita po, hindi pa ho na-transmit.
Mr. Speaker, for 2024, so the subsidy that I mentioned was programmed under the BSF, but just a portion of it was been remitted to PhilHealth. This actually does not fall with the DOF. It falls with the DBM. So unfortunately, the DOF is knowledgeable of just a portion of it being transmitted to PhilHealth, but we don't have the actual number that will be falling under the DBM. In relation to these documents and this data being used for the plenary deliberations of the PhilHealth for the proposed budget for fiscal year 2026, the DOF, at least on the end of the DOF, will be very happy to give all of these data and provide this and furnish copies to your office po, Mr. Speaker. So at least from the DOF's side, all of the documents and the data that could help with the earmarked revenues and the subsidies that have been provided for the PhilHealth, and also the numbers pertaining to the sin tax collections that should be going to the Universal Healthcare Act. We can provide those to you, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, alam ko po, earmarked fund pa lang po ito ng sin tax. Alam ko po yung pondo po na galing sa PAGCOR papunta sa PhilHealth na hanggang ngayon nasa Bureau of Treasury, hindi pa rin ho nakukuha ng PhilHealth.
Mr. Speaker, I think the challenge here is that these subsidies, or at least even these earmarked revenues, aren't automatically appropriated. So, we still have to provide it through the GAA, the provision of these funds, Mr. Speaker. So, a portion of it would be still with the Treasury, but that's a challenge. It's not automatically appropriated as of now, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Madam Sponsor. Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, kaya ho natin dinidiin yung mga bagay na to. Kung nagko-concentrate po tayo sa mga specialty hospitals, pati na rin sa legacy hospitals, nakikita po natin may sapat na pondo po tayo pagdating sa mga earmarked funds. Kasama ng sin tax, pondo sa PAGCOR, pondo sa PCSO. Kaya tingin ko sa bagay po na to, wala pong maiiwan ng mga district hospitals sa buong bansa kung gagamitin po natin ito ng maayos at mabilis. Ang susunod na tanong ko ho, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, to be clear, Madam Speaker, Madam Sponsor, even if laws say that these revenues are earmarked for health, they are still subject to GAA process, and DBM must still issue the release. And PhilHealth cannot touch the funds without that authority. Tama po ba?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Under the Universal Healthcare Act, Section 37, the amount necessary to implement this act shall be The amount necessary to implement this act shall be sourced from the following. So, total incremental sin tax collections as provided for in RA 10351. So that's the sin tax reform law. And then 50% of the national government share from the income of PAGCOR as provided for in Presidential Decree 1869. Provided, this is a relevant provision, provided that the funds raised for this purpose shall be transferred to PhilHealth at the end of each quarter, subject to the usual budgeting, accounting, and auditing rules and regulations. So yes, Mr. Speaker, that is correct. And provided further that the funds shall be used by PhilHealth. Sorry.
Thank you.
Sorry. At the end of each quarter, subject to usual budgeting. Oh, sorry. That the fund shall be used by PhilHealth to improve its benefit packages. And then the most important would be paragraph E of Section 37. So annual appropriations of the DOH included in the GAA. So, and also subsection F, paragraph F, sorry, national government subsidy to PhilHealth to be included in the GAA. So all of these have to be, and the amount necessary to implement the provisions of this act shall be included in the GAA and shall be appropriated under the DOH and the national government subsidy to PhilHealth. So, it's not, like, these are not automatic appropriations, Mr. Speaker. Yes. That's the challenge and the issue here, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. Does the Bureau of Treasury encounter delays or bottlenecks in releasing these earmarked health funds to DBM and in turn to PhilHealth? Para po magkatulungan po tayo.
Yes.
Ano po yung mga bottlenecks at problema ho ng delays pag-transfer sa PhilHealth?
Mr. Speaker, the main issue here po talaga is that these are not automatic appropriations, so they have to be appropriated through the General Appropriations Act. So there isn't really a challenge besides the fact that it has to go through the regular budget process. Yes, and in the same way that Congress can increase or decrease the subsidies, just like last year, unfortunately, the subsidy was 0. So in the same way, this year, we're committing to increasing it to a substantial amount, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor, sa tingin niyo, would it improve efficiency if Congress were to file measures on direct remittance to PhilHealth of these earmarked funds?
That is a prerogative of Congress, Mr. Speaker. We can make amendments to the law, at least the Universal Healthcare Act, specifically Section 37, where and all of the relevant subparagraphs that pertain to like subsidies of the PhilHealth having to go through and to be approved through the General Appropriations Act, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. At bago ko tapusin, gusto ko lamang hong tanungin, meron pong news article states that 332 billion in allocations from sin taxes, PAGCOR, and PCSO have not been given to PhilHealth since 2019. What is your comment on this po?
You will just confirm, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we're not aware of that number. 332 billion po in the allocations. At least on the part of the Treasury and the Department of Finance obligations, or at least what has been prescribed by law, particularly the General Appropriations Act of 2020, 2021, 2022, 23, 24, and 25. Wala pong ganun, Mr. Speaker.
And thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Sponsor, this representation would like to manifest na kailangan ng Pilipino ang mas mabilis na proseso sa pag-release ng mga earmarked funds para sa PhilHealth. Alam natin ang bawat piso mula sa Syntax, PAGCOR at PCSO ay nakalaan para sa kalusugan ng pamilyang Pilipino. Ngunit kung matagal bago makarating ang pondong ito sa PhilHealth, ang tunay na nangangailangan ang nagiging dehado. Kaya't nananawagan tayo sa Bureau of Treasury at sa DBM na pabilisin ang proseso upang ang pondo para sa universal healthcare ay agad na maramdaman ng ating mga kababayan. At nananawagan din tayo sa PhilHealth na magamit ang mga pondo na ito ng mas episyente batay sa pangailangan ng pangkalusugan ng mga Pilipino. Nakasuporta po ang Pusong Pinoy Party List sa Department of Finance at lalong-lalo na ho para mas mapabilis pa yung pondo na kailangan po ng ating mga kababayan pagdating ho sa kalusugan. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Speaker, Madam Sponsor.
Thank you, Honorable Nisay. Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, next to interpolate the sponsor, I move to recognize Representative Rene Co of Kabataan Party List.
The Honorable Rene Co of Party List Kabataan is recognized. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Good evening to Madam Sponsor and the agencies here today.
Good evening.
We'd like to begin by asking and comparing the national government's revenue from different kinds of taxes. Can the DOF confirm, Mr. Chair, if the share of revenue from corporate taxes has gone down in the past 15 years?
I'm sorry, Mr. Speaker, 15.
15,
15
yes.
years. We'll gather the data, Mr. Speaker. Couple of seconds.
And we'd like to compare it with individual taxes as well as consumption taxes like VAT.
Personal consumption. Mr. Speaker, so we have data from 2015. So unfortunately, we don't have data from all the way all the way since 2010. Though in 2015, like starting 2015, like corporate, or these company or corporate enterprise taxes, so taxes on net income and profits, have been increasing. So, so in 2015, we were at 489 million, a billion, sorry, 289 billion. And then 2017, 588 billion. And there was a slight dip during the pandemic period, yes. And then, so from 2019, we're at 587 billion, and then we dipped 2021, 472 billion. 2022, there was an uptick, 496 billion. 2023, 551 billion. 2024, we're at 584 billion. So that's for the company and corporate enterprise taxes. For
And to clarify, Mr. Chair, this is share of revenue. So the percentage of the revenue from the entire base versus other types of taxes. Although perhaps I can share, Mr. Chair, our data as gathered from the Bureau of Treasury. So our findings, no, this is from the Bureau of Treasury and the Bureau of Internal Revenue. The percentage of revenue from corporate taxes has actually gone down, no, in the past 15 years. From 2010 to 2015, 34% of the revenue of the Philippine government, no. Then to 2020, 25%, then 2023, 21%. Compare this with the percentage of revenue from consumption taxes. From 2010, it was 29%. Then it would increase to 31.5% on 2015. Then to 2020, 33%. Then 2023 to 30%, it would go down. Then for individual taxes, it's the percentage of revenue from 2010, it's 20%, then 2015, 21, and then 2023, the latest data is 27.8%. Meaning, ang nahanap po namin sa trends ay bumaba po yung percentage of revenue of corporate taxes, habang tumaas naman po yung percentage of revenue for individual and consumption taxes. Pwede po bang ma-explain ng Department of Finance, Mr. Chair, bakit po ganito yung trend?
Mr. Speaker, yes, the DOF confirms, and the Bureau of Treasury also confirms those data is correct. Like the data is correct. But here, in a way, like a different expression of it is 53.6% of all taxes yes, these are BIR numbers. 53.6% of taxes. 53.6% of all revenue collections, tax revenue collections, are taxes on net income and profit. So that's both the corporate income and individual income. And on the other hand, that's 46.4% would be consumption taxes, so it's excise taxes and VAT. That's another way to express it,
Okay.
Mr. Speaker.
Okay, thank you for that clarification, Mr. Speaker. And we are aware of the imposition po ng VAT on digital services or yung tatawag na nating digitax. Maasahan po ba natin na ang revenue share of consumption taxes will go even higher, no? Will go up even more in the following years dahil sa imposition po ng digitax?
Yes, that is a possibility, Mr. Speaker.
And ang next question ko po, naniniwala po ba ang DOF na ito ang pinaka-best na paraan for the national government to acquire more revenue from taxes? Yes po.
Not necessarily the best.
Yes.
It's a good source of revenue.
Yes. Mr. Speaker, just given our fiscal consolidation strategy and just our like the medium-term fiscal framework, where we really want to hit revenues to 6 trillion by 2028, really, like the Department of Finance is just trying to find like a balanced mix of taxes that can like best achieve this goal. With a VAT on digital services.
In a fair manner.
In a fair manner. Just a balance, and also in a fair manner that is not like just promoting progressive taxes, not regressive taxes, especially those that don't just revenue programs that don't erode purchasing powers of average Filipinos. But with regards to the VAT on digital services, this value-added tax was introduced just to level the playing field between the domestic digital service providers or DSPs and the foreign digital service providers. So this is why this has been introduced. Because previously, before like the value-added tax on digital services was passed or was instituted, there was at least just a disproportionate treatment, or just there wasn't a level playing field between the domestic digital service providers and the foreign digital service providers. So in at least the projections of the DOF in terms of revenues that will be generated through the VAT on digital services, they're projecting 3.62 billion pesos to be collected through this value-added tax in 2025, and then next year we're projecting 21.37 billion that will be like collected through this VAT on digital services. But at least for this particular VAT, it's really just about leveling the playing field, making sure that there is not undue there isn't an undue disadvantage on the part of the domestic digital service providers who are competing with the foreign digital service providers, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, the good sponsor mentioned the concept of progressive taxation, and we are mandated to provide or evolve a system of progressive taxation. Naniniwala po ba ang DOF that digitax is a form of progressive taxation?
Excise tax on more expensive.
I'm just gathering data, Mr. Speaker, just a couple of seconds. Mr. Speaker, um, generally the mandate of the DOF is to pursue progressive taxation. So that covers all of the taxes, not just in income, but also value-added taxes, excise taxes, and the such. At least for this particular like value-added tax on digital services, given that, well, probably the first, second, and third income deciles, I think just a small majority of them would be subject to like the VAT on digital services, given that the social, like the, not the social media platforms, but the media platforms, online platforms that they go on, generally do not like require a subscription. So like that kind of falls within the progressive taxation scheme of at least this particular program, because most of it will not, this would not subject like at least the first, second income, first, second, and third income deciles to this taxation. But yes, generally for the VAT on digital services, Mr. Speaker.
Nevertheless, Mr. Speaker, sa People's Economics, ang digitax at ang iba pang mga buwis na inaatang sa balikat ng karaniwang mamamayan, for this representation, tinuturing natin lahat silang regressive taxation. Habang yung malalaking korporasyon, kumakaunti nga po yung kinakailangang bayarang buwis as is provided po by the DOF, patong-patong naman ang buwis sa karaniwang mga tao. Mr. Speaker, kung binubuwisan natin ng wealth tax, for example, 17% of the total net worth of the 50 richest Filipinos na puro mga bilyonaryo, di po bababa sa 270 billion pesos ang dagdag na revenue sa gobyerno. We are enlightened po, no, and in comparison po doon sa na-share na values, for example, na 3.6 billion for this year and 21 billion pesos collected from Digivat for next year. This is the 270 billion, no, hypothetically, mas malaki po ito sa total budget for flood control projects na tinanggal natin sa DPWH. At kahit buwisan, ang mga bilyonaryo ng ganoon, bilyonaryo pa rin sila. And so we ask the DOF, will the department consider integrating a wealth tax into the broader fiscal reform package aimed at reducing inequality in line with the Philippine Development Plan's inclusive growth agenda and the constitutional principle of a progressive tax system?
Mr. Speaker, yes. The Department of Finance, ever since the 19th Congress, has been very open with proposals in the wealth tax. Basically, yes, because the DOF, it's not just its mandate, but also its pursuit to really pursue a progressive taxation scheme. Wala naman po talagang gustong matax. Ayaw naman po talaga natin na ma-erode nga yung purchasing power of our average Filipinos, especially since we have to tame inflation and all of the basic commodities, all of the prices are soaring. So we are, like the Department of Finance is very open to discussions relating to the wealth tax to be integrated into the revenue programs of the department and the national government, Mr. Speaker.
Okay. Thank you very much for that commitment, Mr. Speaker. And also to clarify lang na dun sa example ko, 6% lang po pala ng total net worth, not 17%. Okay. And nonetheless, the point still stands. This representation looks forward to having that commitment provided in the 19th Congress, no, translate into the 20th Congress para yung revenue na nakikita bilang mga batayang serbisyong panlipunan nagtatranslate sa mga araw-araw na pamumuhay ng mamamayang Pilipino, no, come not at a cost heavy on their shoulders, and promoting equality and progressive taxation nga po as enshrined in our Constitution. That's all. Mr. Chair, thank you very much for answering our questions. I yield my time to the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Ko, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I move to recognize Representative Sergio Daguok of APEC Party List as our next interpolator.
The Honorable Sergio Dago of Party List APEC is recognized. Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you, Majority Leader. Magandang gabi po sa ating lahat, especially to the DOF family and its attached agencies. Actually, one of the issues, Mr. Speaker, that I am supposed to raise has already been raised by my colleague. So, I would just like to convey the sincerest thanks from the electric cooperative sector, no, to the Department of Finance and Bureau of Local Government Finance, no, for acting quickly on the implementation, long overdue implementation of Section 13 of Republic Act 10531. Pero, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, susugan ko lang yung hindi malinaw na katanungan kanina, yung sagot. Dahil nagtitik sa akin yung andaming mga GM na hindi malinaw yung sagot kanina. Sabi ko, English kasi yun eh. Yung mga narinig ng mga kababayan natin sa mga probinsya, consumers ng electric cooperatives, gusto nila Tagalog. Yung iba nga, Bisaya eh. Ano ang gagawin, Mr. Speaker, ng DOF, BLGF? Kasi itatanong ko din to sa DILG later during their budget deliberation. Ano yung gagawin ninyo doon sa mga local government units na binaliwala yung katakot-takot na circulars na inisyo ninyo?
Mr. Speaker, Tagalogin ko po. Yung Bureau of Local Government Finance or yung BLGF, nagko-conduct po tayo, nagko-conduct po yung BLGF ng mga evaluation ng mga lokal na treasury operations para po siguraduhin na sinusunod po nila kung ano po yung nakalagay doon sa Joint Memorandum Circular tungkol po doon sa preferential rights ng mga electric cooperatives. Tungkol po ito doon sa sa exemption doon sa local taxes. Tapos kung ano po yung mga nakita natin na mga local government units, particularly po yung iba din mga local chief executives at iba pa mga opisyal ng ng lokal na pamahalaan na hindi po sumusunod or medyo naglalaban po sa pagsunod doon sa nakalagay doon sa Joint Memorandum Circular doon po doon sa exemption ng exemption ng electric cooperatives sa local taxes. Ang ginagawa po ng DOF, BLGF, ang pwede po nilang gawin ay i-suspend po yung mga po.
So pwede po nilang i-suspend yung mga concerned local government units and a worst scenario kung hindi susunod.
Yung mga local treasurers po, pwede po
Local
suspend
treasurers.
ng DOF. Pero kailangan pong makipag-ugnayan ng Bureau of Local Government Finance po sa DILG.
Are these, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, are these treasurers and the local officials aware that the electric co-op is not benefited on this? Because all the taxes that we are paying is a pass-on charge. So pagka siningil yung electric co-op, ipapasa lang din yan sa mga consumers. Kaya as representatives of the different electric cooperatives in the country, nilalabi namin yan in 2013 na maipasok sa sa amendment ng PD 269 kasi yun ngang kuryente natin, one of my issue, nandito si Secretary, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, para sa akin, multiple taxes yun hindi lang double. Imagine, sa importasyon pa lang ng panggatong, yung mga coal natin, mga diesel, bunker, may excise tax na. Dadaan pa sa customs, papatawan. Pag igatong mo sa planta, lalabas yung 1 kilowatt hour, may VAT na naman siya. Dadaan sa NGCP, sa transmission, yung transmission charge, may VAT na naman. Dadaan sa distribution. So, all the way. But that's not the issue that I am raising now. Babalik ako doon sa RPT, may batas na nga, pero ayaw pang sundin. I hope na may impose natin whatever penalty doon sa mga kanina nga nagtawanan kami dito kasi ang issue ni Kong Nisay syntax. So nagbibiro nga ako na dapat ang patawan ng syntax yung proven guilty na sa korte kasi syntax. So yung mga treasurers na nagkasala so I hope na, Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, I hope na ma-impose natin whatever penalty due to this treasurers for violating your memorandum circulars. Now, on the next issue, which is also very important, matagal na po nating nagiging problema yung mga different interpretation of the different RDOs on the tax treatment, income tax treatment of electric cooperatives. Kaya marami na po tayong kaso sa Court of Tax Appeals. Consistent naman po yung Court of Tax Appeals. Now, I have a question, a series of prepared questions, but for the interest of time, yung iba kasi hindi sila sanay na inaabot dito ng alas 3. Ako sanay ako, inaabot kami dito ng alas 4 ng madaling araw. So, consistent naman po yung ating ruling sa Court of Tax Appeals. Lahat ng mga electric cooperatives na pumunta sa Court of Tax Appeals, iisa lang po ang ruling. The CTA uphold the perpetual tax exemption, income tax. I'm talking of the income tax. Bakit po yung BIR patuloy pa rin MR sa Supreme Court? Can I get a commitment? Diretsahin ko na lang kasi tulog na yung mga kasamahan. Again, tulog na yung mga kasamahan ko dito Tayo na lang ang gising. Can I directly get a commitment from our good commissioner na ang ibig sabihin doon sa consistent ruling ng Court of Tax Appeals sa lahat ng mga dumating na kaso doon sa income tax, taxability sa income ng mga electric, because by law, PD 269 pa to. Electric cooperatives as created by PD 269 are non-stock, non-profit entity. We are just used as a vehicle to implement the rural electrification program of the government. Kami yung kontraktor na hindi kumikita. Yung pundo na subsidy para sa mga sitio electrification, binabalik po namin sa NIA kahit a single centavo na sumubra. Actual cost po sa pag-construct ng linya. Kaya po sa PD 269, malinaw po na we are tax exempt. So, Kaya lang, yung mga RDO natin, patuloy pa rin. Kaya umaabot tayo sa CDE. Can I get the commitment from the good commissioner na susundin na natin yung ruling ng Court of Tax Appeals? Kasi pag nag-issue kayo ng garnishment, yung electric co-op walang pambayad sa planta dahil na-garnish, maputulan yung buong franchise area, isang probinsya.
Mr. Speaker, siguro unahin ko po Count Gook yung sa side po ng Bureau of Local Government Finance at saka ng Department of Finance related po dun sa mga...
Mr. Speaker, distinguished sponsor, this is no longer about yung kanina.
Okay.
Sabi ko, tinapos ko na yon na I hope na ma-implement yon at we can impose penalty, if any, doon sa mga hindi sumusunod na treasurer.
Apo.
This is another
Yes.
issue doon sa taxability on income tax of the electric cooperative regarding BIR na to, BIR.
Yes po, Kong. Pero pahabol lang po ng Bureau of
Okay,
Local
okay.
Government Finance. Actually, nag-random check din po daw ang BLGF sa mga electric bills. So, kung check po din nila doon kung may tax o wala. Nag-commit po si Secretary Ralph ang BLGF family po natin na kung may naisumbong po sa inyo na RDO man yan or local treasurer or local government unit na hindi po sumusunod dito sa Joint Memorandum Circular, pakisanggunin na lang po sa amin, ipapashow cause order daw ng BLGF.
Sige po,
Apo.
maraming salamat po.
Apo.
Kakaunti na lang naman yung mga LGU na yon, kakaunti na lang.
Yes po.
Ang gusto lang namin na matapos na yung issue kasi napakahaba na.
Opo.
Thank you po,
Yes,
distinguished
thank you
sponsor.
din, Kong. Yung sa naman po, dun po sa side dun po sa parte ng BIR, nag-issue na po yung BIR ng Revenue Memorandum Circular number 116-2024. Dito po, clarify po ni Commissioner Lumagi ng BIR yung tax treatment po doon sa generation transmission charges, including po yung VAT. Yung napapasa po through yung charges ng distribution utility companies and electric cooperatives. So meron na pong RMC last 2024 pa. Minomonitor naman po ng BIR yung enforcement po nito. Pero again po, Kong Dagook, kay Kong Presley din po, saka lahat po nakasama natin dito sa Kongreso, kung may nakita po kayo ng mga gap, particularly po din sa mga RDO natin, na hindi po ito na-implement ng maayos, pag-usapan na lang
Mr.
po
Speaker,
natin.
distinguished sponsor, nakita ko po na yung oras ko ay nagamit sa sagot. Pero ibang issue po yan. That's my next issue. Kasi ibang issue yan. That issue is regarding the